Hello, welcome to Courageously Curious. Hey, let's go. The setting for today's episode is Mount Aspiring National Park in New Zealand, and the topic is the following. When you come out of high school at 17, 18, 19, you have no idea what possibilities you actually have. I know the possibilities might seem vast, but you have no idea how much you could actually do. And I believe that leads many, many young people to see a path more strict, more constrained than it actually is. And today, I'm going to tell you 3 stories of people that I have met on my travels that illustrate that point and hopefully get you thinking a bit of what is actually possible if you trust yourself a bit. The first one is a very dear friend of mine. His name's Nick. Nick went to a very, very liberal school in Germany, which meant they didn't have standardized testing. They didn't have exams or like a fixed schedule. So it was very woohoo type of school. And he ended up dropping out of school at 15 or 16, I believe. Now he is 24 and is doing quite well. How did he get there? And what the hell did he do in 8 years of, not attending school or university? Well, a non-exhaustive list contains taking university classes for fun, I believe volunteering at a kindergarten, hosting a photography exhibition, living in Greece, walking 100 kilometers in a day, walking from Hamburg to Berlin, working in social media for a snack company, traveling New Zealand with me, running his own events business, dropping some clothes, making t-shirts and hoodies and bags and selling them. So he's done all these things. Oh, and he started making money by making videos for other people on social media and promoting stuff on his own page. All these things he did instead of what many consider the traditional path of, going to school, going to uni, and then going into a job. And he's doing well. He's doing well. And he once said to me that he thought he didn't need to go to university because he could take on the world alone, on his own. And he admitted that was probably very naive and maybe a bit juvenile. But I really admire that sentiment of trusting yourself and figuring out your own path. And I know that trusting yourself is a big ask, a very big ask, especially if you're 18 and you have no idea what you want to do with your life. And I'm not saying that university is not a good path. I just want you to be aware of how many other options there are. And I also want you to be aware that you can always change course. It's never too late to make the right decision. And this was illustrated to me by a guy that I took as a hitchhiker in this van. His name was Daniel. He was 21 years old, from Poland, and he worked as a wind turbine repairman. And I'm gonna let you take a guess of how long it took for him to be able to exercise this job, how long he trained. Come on, take a guess. It's less than what you thought. It's 6 weeks. It took him 6 weeks to learn how to become a wind turbine repairman, apparently. And that's what he told me. And he didn't have any prior qualifications in trade or mechanical qualifications. In this job, which in the beginning is a bit difficult to actually get jobs because you don't really have experience, but eventually you build up a client portfolio or you build up a reputation, and then you're good to go. He works 6 to 8 months out of the year. The other 4, he travels. He tells me that his biggest passion in the world is seeing and climbing mountains. And that's what he was doing. So whenever you feel stuck in your career path, remember that in 6 weeks you could become an air turbine repairman in Poland, and you could work 6 to 8 months out of the year. Now, if you want to do that, that's your prerogative. But I want you to know that it takes less time than you think to completely change your life. Now, the third person is actually someone I met literally yesterday evening, not even 24 hours ago. But he is a perfect example of how, when you've been brought up, in quite a traditional environment, your vision is very constricted when it comes to your path in life. He was brought up in Wales, and he started climbing at 3 years old. After he finished high school, he went for a year and a half to Norway to go to a specialized school for, I think, snow and glacier expeditions, something like that. At the age of 20, he started his own mountain guiding company, basically him with his qualifications taking people up in the mountains of Wales mostly, and guiding hikes. And now he's 23, he's in New Zealand, his company is running in Wales, he's in New Zealand, and his dream is to become, I can't remember the exact abbreviation, but to attain the highest level of mountaineering guiding certification, with which you essentially can take people all over the world in the mountains. It's going to take him probably 4 to 10 years to do this, depending on how much he prioritizes it, he told me. But he's going to spend his life outdoors. He's going to spend it showing people our natural, beautiful world, and he's gonna spend his life being active and helping people accomplish their dreams of climbing and seeing the mountains. I feel like when you grow up and the only path you see before you is university, then this doesn't necessarily mean that university is wrong for you, but it means that a lot of the options have been taken out of the equation immediately. And maybe it's not all that bad, Maybe as an 18 or 19-year-old, seeing everything there is to see would be way too much, and probably this would be way too much. But later you figure out that I figured out that there's so many paths. Now, how do you figure that out? If you're sitting there and thinking, oh my God, I want to know what there is. I want to find these things out. How do you find it out? Well, one thing you can't get around is talking to people in real life, and ideally in different countries, because there are people who have a very different life experience from yours. But you can start by just engaging more and more with people you see in your everyday life. When you get a coffee, when you're sitting at a bar, just ask people about what they do for a living and be relentlessly curious. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. No matter where it is, whether it's in public transport, whether it's in a bar, whether it's at the coffee place, or it doesn't matter. Ask real people about what they do for a living, and well, first of all, people are gonna usually be very happy that you ask them, and if you show a genuine interest, they will tell you like everything, because most people have never been listened to about their job properly. But you're gonna find out so many things that you didn't think were possible. Now, to close it off, I want to tell you about an additional encounter I had that made me feel, it left an impression, and it made me feel very lucky. About 10 months ago, I met a former IDF soldier here in New Zealand, and he was a combat camera operator. We initially bonded because we both like cameras, and then I found out about his story. What this means is that he was assigned to an underground combat unit in Gaza right at the beginning of the conflict after October 7th. And his job was to document what happened with a camera, to take photos and videos of the events on the ground. And he understood that he took part in a circle of violence. He was aware of that, and he told me, well, if I would have been brought up in the Gaza Strip, I would also, hate Israel. And he joined the war because friends of his were killed on October 7th in the attack on the music festival. He told me that he didn't think that it was his job to judge what happened. It was his job to document, be an eye. And it was also not his job to decide what happened with his imagery afterwards, what it was used for. To be clear, he shot things that were used for publication, not necessarily for the analysis of military strategy or anything like that. But he saw that as his role, and he was, I think, only a couple of years, maybe 1 or 2 years older than me, which made me feel very, very grateful for my upbringing and for the situation that I was born in. Now, I wanted to take the following away. The more time you spend by yourself, consuming social media, or not engaging with other people, the less you will actually know about the world. The more time you spend on social media and alone and not engaging with other people, the less real things you're gonna know, and the less you're gonna know what real options you have. Not the options that look good on social media, but the options that real people do in the real world, because it brings them real fulfillment. The fact that so much of our free time and consumption gets channeled through social media means that everybody is seeing the world through the same filter. Means everyone gets the same information to a degree. And this leaves room. This leaves room for amazing experiences. And if you manage to get out of there and, touch some grass, I know it's cliche, but touch fucking grass, then the options are limited for you, and less people do it. So bet on yourself, be courageous, be curious, and get out there. See you next week.